In today's video, we're going to explore the role of intermittent fasting in supporting healthy and effective weight loss. We'll break down the science behind intermittent fasting, how it works in real life, the potential side effects, and practical tips on what to eat, as well as which foods are best avoided for optimal results. But before we go any further, I want to be very clear. This video is created for general educational purposes only. It is not a clinical or medical instruction guide. If you have an existing health condition, such as diabetes, and you are planning to change your diet or eating routine, please make sure to consult your healthcare provider first, especially if you are currently taking any medication. Your doctor can give you personalized advice based on your unique health needs. With that important note out of the way, let's begin by understanding the basics. To put it simply, intermittent fasting is a way of eating where you alternate between periods of eating and periods of not eating. There are two of the most common approaches that people follow, and we'll explore both of them in more detail later in this video. These methods are known as the 5.2 plan and the 16-8 time-restricted schedule. We will also take a closer look at the science behind how intermittent fasting works. But here is the basic idea. When the body goes for a certain amount of time without food, it begins to use stored energy instead of energy from meals. The first source the body taps into is stored sugar and glycogen. And once those levels decrease, the body switches to burning stored fat for fuel. This shift in energy use is what contributes to gradual and effective weight loss when intermittent fasting is practiced consistently. What exactly is intermittent fasting? When it comes to intermittent fasting, the idea is to create specific periods of eating and fasting. There are two common approaches that people use in practice, and we'll talk about both of these in more detail later in the video. These are known as the 5.2 method and the 16.8 method. We'll also dive deeper into the science behind how intermittent fasting works in the next section. But to put it simply, when we fast, the body begins to use stored energy. Instead of relying on the calories from recent meals, the body starts burning stored fat, and this is what ultimately leads to weight loss. Now that we have a basic understanding of what intermittent fasting actually is, let's take a moment to look at the science behind it. I think this part is important because understanding the theory allows us to make sense of why this approach can be effective for weight loss. So in this next section, we'll briefly explore how intermittent fasting works inside the body, and how this particular style of eating can support the process of burning stored fat and reducing overall body weight. When we consume more energy from food than the body needs at that moment, the body responds by releasing a hormone called insulin. Insulin is produced every time we eat, and one of its key roles is to help break down carbohydrates into glucose. This glucose is then transported into the cells to be used as a source of immediate energy. However, when there is more glucose than the body requires right away, the excess is stored in the liver and muscles in the form of glycogen, which can be used later whenever the body needs energy. Whenever the body needs a quick source of energy, or when glucose from food isn't available, the glycogen stored in the liver is released. It is then broken down into glucose and sent into the bloodstream to fuel the body. However, the body can only store a limited amount of glycogen. Once these storage sites are full, the excess glucose is converted into fat. Some of this fat may remain in the liver, while the rest is transported and stored in other fat deposits throughout the body. When you enter a fasting period, your insulin levels naturally decrease, which sends a signal to your body to start accessing energy stored within. The first source the body taps into is glycogen stored in the liver, because it's quick and easy to use. Once these glycogen reserves are depleted, the body begins to break down stored fat to produce the energy it needs. Over time, by repeatedly drawing on these energy stores, both glycogen and fat, the body can gradually burn excess fat, which contributes to weight loss and improved metabolic health. Now that we've covered the science behind intermittent fasting, let's talk about the different ways you can practice it. There are two approaches that are most popular and widely used. The first is called the 5.2 method. In this approach, you eat normally for 5 days of the week, and then on the remaining 2 days, you significantly reduce your calorie intake, usually to about 500-600 calories. These low-calorie days help create a weekly energy deficit, which can support weight loss. The second approach is known as time-restricted eating. In this method, you set a specific window of time each day when you eat and fast for the remaining hours. One of the most common patterns is the 16.8 cycle, where you fast for 16 hours and consume all your daily calories within an 8-hour eating window. Many people follow this almost every day, making it a sustainable and flexible option for long-term results. Both of these methods work because they help the body create a calorie deficit over the course of the week. For example, intermittent fasting can result in roughly a 25% reduction in total weekly calories, which encourages the body to use stored fat for energy. While intermittent fasting can be highly effective, it's important to remember that what you eat during your eating periods, the fed state, makes a big difference. Even if you fast for many hours, overeating or consuming high-calorie, low-nutrient foods can easily cancel out the benefits and prevent the weight loss you're aiming for. Now that we've covered the two main practical approaches, the 5-2 method and time-restricted eating, let's shift our focus to nutrition. Choosing the right foods can amplify the results of intermittent fasting, while poor food choices can hinder your progress. In the next section, we'll go over 5 key foods you should consider including in your diet to support weight loss and overall health. We'll also highlight 5 types of foods to avoid, which can sabotage your fasting results and make it harder for your body to burn fat efficiently. By understanding and applying these food choices, you can make intermittent fasting far more effective and sustainable in the long term. And that brings us to the conclusion of today's video. I hope you found it both informative and insightful, and that you learned something new about intermittent fasting and how it can support your health and weight management goals. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and leaving a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, experiences, or any questions you might have, whether your experience with intermittent fasting has been positive or challenging. Your feedback helps create a stronger community and makes these discussions even more valuable. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for regular, weekly videos focused on medical education, nutrition, and health tips. If you haven't already, make sure to also check out the references and resources linked in the description box. They contain a wealth of additional information to help you dive deeper into the topic. Finally, I want to reiterate that this video is intended purely for educational purposes. It is not medical advice, and the information shared here should not replace consultation with a qualified healthcare professional. Please read the full disclaimer in the description box for all legal considerations. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.